Hey, what's up, viewer? Welcome back to this Nebulous live development creation series. This is day 19, hour 1, and I actually have an announcement about how I'm going to be formatting the series from this point on forward. So I went back real quick and I tallied up how many hours I actually managed to achieve over 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks, or I guess nearly 5.5 weeks, and it was only like 60 hours of recorded effort. I did have some effort off screen that was contributing towards the game, but it wasn't that much more, so maybe 80 hours total. And that's only like 12% efficiency for that amount of time, which is not good enough. As long as I am in this precarious position right now with my life, it's not enough, and it wasn't enough. So I've got to do better. To do that, I double checked what YouTube's upload limit is on videos, and it's actually 12 hours per video, or like 256 gigs of vid, as long as you are two-factor authenticated, which I'll get sorted out. Or I already am, I'm not sure, but one or the other. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is, instead of doing 1-hour bursts, I'm going to be bumping that up to 3-hour bursts. So I'm going to do 3 hours of work in each setting, because as long as I start that timer and start grinding through, and apparently as long as I don't have my cat on my lap, I will keep putting the effort forward. So the idea is to have less instances of starting the process yielding more results, since the timing is longer. So I just wanted to let you know that's why the video is 3 hours now, and why I'm going to be doing 3-hour videos from here on, and maybe that'll change to 2 hours, 4 hours, we'll see how I feel. We're going to try this test run though today by starting off with a 3-hour segment. Alright, so in the last video I was attempting to set up a UI element button that will help to distinguish nebula stars when they're inside of the nebula. I wasn't able to come up with a good way to do that using UI toolkit and UI elements, because UI elements don't have a proper world space defined, it turns out. So instead of making some kind of weird system that has to constantly check anytime the camera changes position, I just decided to try using an original Unity UI canvas, which does have world space capacity. However, I was running into an issue where the event system is saying, hey, there's this problem because you're using the new input system, and the old input manager is now turned off. And the thing I remembered from that is that I'm pretty sure if I go under my actual project settings, and I go to the maybe input manager, maybe input system package, I think there's a way to set it up to use both of them, if I am not mistaken. So I need to take a second here and try and figure out where that was at. Whoops. Okay, so I don't know why that happened all of a sudden. Alright, let me check the preferences. Alright, so I'm not sure. I'm going to have to Google it here. I don't remember. So Unity 3D. Oops, Unity 3D. Use both input system and input manager. Okay, so this is saying to go to project, or wait, hold on. Active input handling and what it said was player settings. Perhaps it's in here somewhere. Oh, it is already set to both. What the heck? Alright, well, that's screws up my whole plan then. Let's see here. I don't actually have it disabled, I have it set to both, in fact. So that's very bizarre. Well, maybe this isn't going to work. And of course I have to give the Unity engine 25 seconds to compile for nothing. Alright, and it's just not working, so even if I drag the canvas over here, and even if I zoom in on it, it's not like it's too far away. Man, so I don't know why this is happening. I was under the impression that it would be because it was set to the wrong input, but... Well, actually, hold on, let me change this to red. And then let me turn off this button image by default. Still being janky. So I'm not sure what happens if I deactivate the text element. And then what happens if I remove the text element? What happens if I put the canvas above the event system? Yeah, okay, so for some reason it won't cast. For some reason it's not detecting a raycast. Alright, so I'm gonna have to Google why this is happening because I'm not quite sure. So Unity 3D. I already looked this up yesterday. Guess it's a really strange answer. That says that the button is the wrong direction, which I don't know about that one. But we'll give it a shot here since nothing else is working. I still think it's partly because I'm mixing the UI systems up. I mean, this is just so quaint. Like, it's so quaint that it's not working so specifically like this. Alright, so I don't know about it being a rotational issue, but let's give it a shot here. So now does it like magically work? No. Okay. Not quite. Okay, so that's something that's a little different. It might be another reason though to like stop using the UI toolkit at all, more or less, because everything I'm doing is through the editor anyway. Other people have had these issues, it looks like. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat, she's stuck outside again. This has to do a lot with AR toolkit. Okay, this is just saying it has to do with camera. And I already did that though. So main camera, main camera, main camera. It's all main camera. Okay, real quick, I'm just going to change this to screen space camera, and I'm going to just see if this button is working. If it's outside of world space, basically. So if I enter game mode, or if I enter play mode, man, this problem is back. It was actually doing pretty good at loading. Man. Okay, so once again, it's just not. I mean, it's just straight up just not working. Oops, and I brought this image back, which isn't correct. If I disable the button, text is still there. If I disable the text, the button is there. Okay, so it's got to be something to do with the fact that I'm using... It's got to have something to do with the fact that I'm using a... UI document. I don't know what else it could be. So let me jump into this event system and if I generate a new event system, and actually just, hold on. Now I legit want to make, whatever, screw it. Okay, so if I remove the, oh wait, no, it doesn't. Let me just remove this real quick, and then try and add this event system. Oh, it does have an event system. Oh my god, I want to go punt my cat really bad. This is so weird. I had this problem fixed where it wasn't lagging this hard on startup. Now all of a sudden it's screwing with me. Alright, so once again the button is just not working. Okay, what happens if I delete the canvas? And the event system? Does it hang up on play mode, or? Yeah, so I'm not sure. Like, this is working off of the legacy system, so. Damn it, okay, so like, God, this is just, man, when this stuff starts to piss me off like this, it really pisses me off. And my cat's annoying me, so it's like, double annoying right now. So that's another thing, it's trying to say that the button's pointed the wrong way. Alright, so let's say UI button. And this is saying button interactable, raycast target. It says to run in here and see if the selected targets in the event system properly. And real quick, what is this new game object? Okay, so event system, and then and actually very bizarre. It actually says the button is selected here. Oh, now it is working. Once again, that's an overlay space, so we switch to world space. It actually looks like my camera got screwed up somehow. Man, what the heck? That's really weird. My camera is like way out of position for some reason. This is really weird. And there's this random game object thing. So I was working on the other option. Here's the world space canvas. I'm not shifting it like that. The camera should retain its position. Shouldn't be bizarrely out of position. Okay, so that's back. The canvas is world spaced. If we move the canvas over here, it is missing something. I think it's just the fact that I didn't scale the button. Alright, so let's try something like this. And it's just not working in world space. I don't know how else to describe it. It is just not working. Okay, so event system. Let's see. It is not saying a button is selected. Okay, so that's saying I can try to leave the target graphic in there. Alright, let's do this another shot. And it still looks like it's not working. So if I delete the text element, it still doesn't work. So what if I delete the button? What happens if I add a legacy button? Well, tough shit, what can I say? Actually, that's a good point. Let me see if I have a standalone input module up here or something. Okay, it doesn't look like it. Okay, so the other solution was to turn off raycast target on the text element. and then scooch this over by default. Jeez, it's like 20,000 or something. Sure. Okay, and before I enter plate mode again, since it's screwing with me for some reason out of nowhere, I'm going to go to the package manager and I'm going to try removing a couple packages that might be slowing down the system. And it actually isn't showing any, because I already removed those a while back. Man, that's super weird. I might just try restarting the editor too. It's been a couple days, I think. Because this was not happening for like most of this project. And now all of a sudden it's happening. So that's a super pain in the ass. For now, let's see if this works better. And I dare say it does not. It's just not working in world space for some reason. It's not selecting the button. So I put it on the default layer. Nope, no good. Guess that's a little weird. It's disabled color is working. It's got to be something with the raycast. Well, this is very disappointing. I'm wondering if I should, like... And this was just saying to set the canvas order to 1 or 2. Real quick, though, before I do that, I'm going to have to close the editor because... Uh-oh. Because this recompilation time is not cool. So we're going to have to bear witness to my computer slightly aging here. So I still have a couple more ideas, so we're going to keep working on it. It's just not efficient to update it every single... This is to reset the input manager. Alright, so let's just... reload the editor here and hope that that stupid bug goes away. Because that was fixed. Alright, so this was saying to set the layer to like 1 or something. So let's give that a shot real quick. So that looked like it hovered for a split second, but then it didn't work anymore. Okay, so that didn't work either. Jesus, like 8 solutions haven't worked yet. Project settings, reset the input manager. Let's give that a shot. Looked like I entered play mode faster though. And maybe this will do it. There's a reset option, so let's reset this. Alright, so it still isn't working. Man, you'll have to excuse me, this makes me want to like take a baseball bat to my wall or something. When like one little thing like this breaks the entire game process, that's just the most annoying thing I can imagine. It is so annoying. Makes me feel very annoyed. I mean, the only other options come down to like literally manually rendering text using a shader, or manually changing the size of an element anytime the thing zooms, which is not great. Okay, so what if we set this to 2 then? Alright, I don't know. Alright, so I have an event system. See, exactly what this guy is saying. Added the new input system, set the player settings to use it, and restart it. No dice. I then added back the old input manager, so both were active at the same time. Restarted. Showstopper, stop stopping the show. Okay. So is it like UI or input manager? No. I mean, yeah, kind of. That's what it's looking for, isn't it? I already checked that I'm not using a... Okay, so let me go down here and break things real quick. Basically, if I use the old input manager to make this work, I would have to go back and refactor it every single time I ever used the input system. So it would require like an entire refactoring. So this will feasibly this will just start working, and if it does, then it's just confliction between the packages. Which I was considering going back anyway. Not yet, no. Alright, so a couple things are probably going to break here. But first thing I can do is just see if this is a confliction between the packages or not. Looks like it still isn't working anyway. And actually, yeah, now my inputs are broken. Oh, it doesn't even have a... Oh, wait, hold on. Actually, hold on. Does this have a... What's in here, actually? Alright, well that didn't even work either. Man, this is make me want to fucking break stuff. Like, taking bad to shit. Well, let's go back to both. Okay, so that's giving me a weird solution. I'm not going to report a bug for closing the editor right now. Usually I do the bug reports, but not right now. And there's like 18 solutions I've tried in here that worked for the people that aren't working for me. Alright, so let's give it one more shot here. Alright, so this, my stuff's back to working basically. I mean, it's making me want to ignore using a panel completely. It's not going to work in the first place. And then otherwise, though, like, it looks like my zoom's jacked up. Yeah, for some reason my zoom got jacked up. Pan's not, but the zoom is. Alright, so let's see here. And now it's not telling me what's selecting the canvas object. So that's weird. Well, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. And this is all just giving really straightforward answers. Let's see, world space button. This is a GUI button, not a... You have to select a camera in canvas, render mode, event camera. Yeah, I know, I already did that. Canvas render mode, I already did all that, so... Okay, let's try this one more time. Canvas event system, which works. If I switch to world space, it is, of course, the main camera. I can even set the layer to 1 or whatever. And I've got to at least add an image or something. So usually when I do this, I add a panel first. So I'm going to add a panel, and then I'm going to add a button after that. And if we leave it all at default values, and drag the canvas out here. Okay, now my zoom's fixed again, so okay, whatever. And that's all it is the button's just not working. And then there's the button just working basically. And outside of world space, so it's not hovering though. That's because there's an image. Let's remove that. And it actually stopped working. When I removed that target graphic. That was okay. That was weird for a split second. That is so weird. Yeah, that's super strange. It had to like initialize. See, that is weird. Yeah, it just seems like it's fucked up, to be honest with you. Doesn't even seem like it's my problem. But then if I shift it to world space, man, I don't know. I really have no clue. I am about as dead in the water as can be right now. I just don't have any of these considerations. Okay, so this is suggesting that I need to like reverse the canvas for some reason. And button is reversed, but it's still not working anyway. Let's have this like negative one. Alright, so I'm getting one idea off the top of my head, which is to say this, basically. If I drop a text element into the canvas, and I drop the button, which, let me see here, can I put a text element in world space? Alright, what if I add a panel as well? Alright, well, it works. Let's put this back in the canvas. Alright, so let's see real quick. If I put a change color on hover script in here, that was saying it could be a part of the camera. Real quick, I just want to see if this will change colors or not. Oh, you know what? It doesn't have a shader on it, though. Alright, there's a good shot that I'm just going to skip this for now and set up a forum thread because I'm shooting in the dark here. All I want to do is throw a button into dang scene. So for now, I'm actually going to do that. So I need to jump onto my forum here. And let's see here. What should I put it under? Alright, let's try it in here. Alright, so let's see here. Hold space, button, non-interactable, HDRP, and input system. And actually, I'll grab this link just because I'm. Alright, well, let's see what happens. So I'm going to post this thread and then see if anybody gets an easy answer. But it sucks. In the meantime, I'm just going to have to work on some other stuff. So, man, that really irks me. Well, okay, so that's definitely too bad. For now, though, I guess we can do something else. So, essentially, the idea is that whenever I zoom into a nebula, I have stars to select. And the idea is that if I select this star here, and I once again zoom in, it should zoom close into the system. It should zoom close enough into the system that essentially the player can select planets inside of the system. So I've got to consider a way to Alright, so on an abstract level, essentially, this is very similar to selecting a nebula, zooming in, and spawning stars. So, effectively, if active nebula is turned on, active star system okay, so basically active nebula it's similar to this. And it's running in this. So this has to run as if it's this, kind of. So in theory, man, I'm sorry, I think I'm gonna tilt a little bit because the UI thing broke. Alright. I'm also on tilt because, like, I'm also on tilt for other personal reasons, so I shouldn't complain too much about that. Okay, so let's see here. So if I'm entering the selected star system from Nebula view, I'm going to have to essentially have this camera thing happening. So something very similar to this has to happen here. The camera has to do a lot of the stuff. And let's see here. Let's see if I can just drag this over. So let's see. Camera lerp complete is a boolean. And I guess it's by default true, so let's do that. I need camera data. And that has to initialize and start anyway, so I might as well come up here. There is an active star system object, but I think the only reason I had that was for setting it active. So, like, I kind of don't want to do it like that anyway. Okay. I'm also... Okay, so I already have player data, so I can just grab camera data up here, from here basically. So camera data equals player data dot get component camera data, and the camera data is going to and I actually have to look it up. So I've got to remember, how did I... Okay, so if I go over here and push, like, control this, and then type in camera data, and open this up here, and then push shift escape, or what was this? It was shift escape, but I had moved it over to here. So I'm just double checking. Let's see. So Nebula is in let's see. So as long as the nebula is not transitioning to the galaxy. But that's not exactly correct, because there's also the... So this is enter the nebula from the galaxy. Do I actually have nebulas in transition? I do have that, okay. So I know it's camera data. I think I have to also say I'm not sure if that's correct. Let me double check another script here, which was exit nebula to galaxy. So in this instance, okay. So yeah, as long as it's not in the middle of entering or exiting so as long as it's not already hold on. So as long as the camera is not transitioning into the nebula, and as long as the camera is not transitioning into a star system, it can transition out to the galaxy view. So therefore, if we're entering a star system, as long as the galaxy dang, I'm getting this really confused, but that's partly my fault for designing the system like this, but I think this is correct. Okay, so let's just say we're in the nebula, we have a star selected, and we enter. We then say the camera alert is false, camera alert complete is false. Nebula camera is in transition to star system is true. Nebula camera is in transition to galaxy. So yeah, it can't, if you're in the galaxy view, it can only go into the galaxy. So essentially what it's saying is, if the lerp is still happening, oh no, okay. So if the lerp is happening and the player hasn't transitioned from nebula to galaxy. So over here we're looking at and then by the same token, we're looking at exit nebula to galaxy. So more or less, a lerp begins, and as long as a new transition doesn't begin, the lerp continues, more or less. So if we're going to model that here, and I'm sorry this is throwing me off. Okay, so this can't be true because we're not in the galaxy view, we're in the nebula camera. So actually what we want is okay, so I'm kind of thinking of it now. We want public bool star system camera is in transition to nebula. So if the star system camera is not transitioning, to the nebula. Is the exit nebula to galaxy. So the nebula cam, as long as it's not been deemed a new transition one way or the other, basically. And that's the same model here. Right? So it's nebula to star or galaxy to nebula. So as long as on the way out it doesn't try to go back in or into a different star. Whereas entered in the star system, as long as it's not trying to go back in or into it, I guess it can't go into the galaxy, can't it? You have to go, it would have to enter the nebula first to then go to the galaxy, basically. And I don't think this is correct because to do the slurp it has to be in transition to the star system. So I'm actually going to yank this to start with and see if I'm screwing up anything else. But basically, as long as the camera is not trying to, so as long as the player isn't trying to leave a star system to the nebula, it should complete the slurp into the star system. And I think that's actually just about it for that. Okay, so let's take another look over here. And we've got a, it's just a float iterator value. We have camera transition time, which probably should be in the camera data. So I'll just keep this simple and say camera transition time, and we can switch that to be, we can add a couple other ones if we need to switch the time between tiers or something. So now it's just on camera data, basically. And I don't have to change that in 18 different places. And this camera data is, in fact, camera data. And I also have current active selection going on in here. So I'm going to need, oh, I do have current active selection data here. So I'm just going to have to move that to here, basically. And then yank the type. And I can use current active selection data right there, okay. Right, so then we're looking at, oh, we have camera transition time there as well. And the last thing we're doing is we're just setting up the initial values for the lerp. So I'll admit that copy and pasting this like this is not making me think about how to actually solve the problem myself. I'm just using the solution that already exists, which is just those two are pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not thinking about how to solve this. So if the player zooms in, as long as the active selection, as long as there is an active selection, switch the action map to star system view. The star is no longer the active selection, so it's changing its material. It does need starting camera position and rotation. And they are equal to the camera's main position. We do want to toggle all this. Since I'm just gonna move this up since I'm initializing it. And I have to set up vector 3 starting camera position, so I can type it, of course. And then quaternion starting camera rotation, which is in fact like, oh, that is, no, that makes sense. Okay, so now the tricky part. Oh, and then actually, so the camera lerp is no longer complete. The camera is now in transition. This is false. This is true. So it's only transitioning to star system. Therefore, from the other direction, it will be set up to make this true, and it could break this. So that's essentially how it's supposed to work. Okay, so now all we need to do is figure out how to do this, how to do the new positions. So, hold on here. More or less, I can just kind of put the camera in a decent spot, and I can allow the player to make some micro adjustments. The rotation, I don't know, I'm just going to pick up like a arbitrary value. All right. I'm sorry, for some reason I am just not feeling it today. I'm like, gosh, the grindiness of today is super on point for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. I am like fighting myself on the inside really hard today for some reason. But maybe that's because this game is going to be great. And fuckhead life can't stand greatness, apparently. So let's see what else we've got here. More or less, I can get it to transition to like some offset from the star. And excuse me, God, fuck. Jesus. It's only good for me that I get this fucking work done, but no, apparently not. The rest of the entire universe says no, please don't. It gets really old. It gets really old, though. It's what I'm supposed to be doing is resisted from my own inside. It's very, 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 very annoying. Okay, so default galaxy camera position rotation. I don't think I actually used that. But that is kind of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to say, like, and I guess that's what this was, kind of. So I'm basically trying to, like, at the sun's position, move the sun, or move the camera, like, back and over and up, and then look at the sun. So let's call this like public vector 3 and call this default star system camera offset. And the idea would be that new camera position is this, but more specifically, it is actually like current active selection data current active selection transform position. So we put it right on the star. And for some uniformity, what I would actually like to do is do something a little different over here where I say alright, so part of the idea is if the stars are such difference in size, I can't use the exact same default position. So I've got to scale the positional values by a by the scale of the star. So I'm going to tweak this a little bit to say and I might as well leave it like this. I guess I could technically normalize it myself, couldn't I? Alright, so it's this position times, or hold on. And I guess we're technically subtracting it's not screwing up because it's okay. Okay, so the position has to get subtracted from a vector 3, and that vector 3 is oh, wait a minute, hold on. So I'm now getting like multiple ideas here where I could do translate in backwards in local space. Otherwise, it's the sun's position minus more or less default star system camera offset dot normalized, I think. Okay, so it's vector 3. So we're moving from that position the normalize ratio times the current active selection scale times one more camera data value, which has to be so default star system camera offset scalar, basically. And we're just going to scale that by some value, like 3 or 2 or something. And that will, this should more or less lerp to that position. And then while it's at it, it can lerp to that rotation also. Default galaxy camera rotation. So I must set that somewhere else. Let's see here. If I go to enter, let me just see if I set that. Default Okay, so no, I didn't do that. That's gotta be getting set somewhere. Okay, so in this instance, though, I am just setting new camera rotation to Quaternion look rotation down, which isn't exactly correct. But I think it's pretty close if I do something like this. Ugh. So let me add this in here. And from new camera rotation, we have to get a quaternion. And I don't think this is going to work because I'm looking in a direction from another direction. Let me see, is there a vector 3 dot look at? No, there's not. The only look at is from the camera, right? Okay, so I'm not sure about this because more or less what I'm trying to look at is the current active selection's position. However, I'm not sure what the upwards direction would mean. Because up is like the cross product of that, kind of. So I don't know if that's going to work. I'm rather sure it's not, but for this exact moment, I think I have all the bugs worked out of this, or all the errors worked out of this, so I'm going to check where it's at this point. And if I go into player data, camera data, so we'll set this to 2, so any star is twice the radius from the star. The default offset, let's say it's, and I can't remember, did I normalize this or not? No, so I mean it's back maybe over and then up, something like that. And then from here, let's see what happens. Alright, so we're zooming into nebula. We have one lonely white dwarf star here. So I'm actually going to zoom out and see if I can find a bigger star. Alright, so the idea is that if I click on this star and scroll in, okay, so it didn't lerp it. But it did, in fact, basically move it to like right next to the star, which is pretty darn close to what I'm looking for. Although the brightness is really high at that position, so I'm going to have to work on that. But and then the frequency almost makes it purple instead of blue, which is weird. So let's see. So then if I zoom out though, that's still broken. And the other thing is active star system is off. So let me see here. It didn't actually do the lerp. I guess there's one extra thing I should do here. So I have to say this is false also. Oh, and the camera transition time has to get set to a number. I forgot about that. And then the current view tier needs to get switched to star as well. And then, okay, so here's like something interesting here. Let's see, can I open this up? Almost. So now I have to have another, I have to introduce a new type here, which is current star selection. And then here I have to say current star selection. No longer hovers, color hovers, basically. Okay, so that should fix a few things. Alright, so let's see if this works a little differently. I'm not disappointed with this positioning, it actually works pretty good. So let's see, zoom in. We have a yellow star over here. And let's see if I can select it or not. It is actually giving me crap here for some reason. So let me see real quick here. Okay, so that time it did. So I don't know why that's being a pain in the butt. But more or less, if I go like this, okay, so I screwed up something. Oh. So I didn't say current star selection here. So current active selection data dot current star selection equals current active selection data dot current active selection. But it looks like my lerp was screwing up anyway. Alright, so this one has one, so let's zoom in. Select this red star, or yeah, so now I don't know why this is happening. It's not selecting my star for some reason. That one did, but okay, so that did. So that's, for some reason, that's janking up on me. I'm not sure why. The idea is that now if we zoom in, okay, so it's, okay, so my lerp's jacked up, or my, actually, when the travel time was set to 0, it just automatically went there. So it's like close. The position's correct, but the rotation is way off. So almost what I want to do is just say screw that. Lerp right here. And instead just say camera.main dot look at camera dot, oh no, look at current active selection data dot current star selection. And more or less we're just going to keep it, oh, dot transform dot position. And more or less every single time the camera barely moves, we're just going to force it to look at the sun. It's approaching. And we are going to worry about a rotational quaternion lerp thing. Yeah, I'm super happy that my compiling is faster now because all I have to do is restart the editor, thank goodness. So we have a tiny red star over here. This is why I need the UI component, because the star is too small. Man, fail. I could also do a Loracle thing where, like, a nebula that is empty is quote-unquote a resource nebula. So anytime a nebula winds up having no stars in it, it could just be like a nebula full of gas and minerals or something like that. So let's give this another shot here. So now if I click on the sun and zoom in, it didn't work either. Okay, so this is, for some reason, it's not selecting properly. Not until I go over here and then come back in, apparently, or something. Oh. Yeah, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I don't know. But now we have this star selected. If I zoom in, okay, so that's, I guess that's all right. I don't know what this weird artifact is, though. That's strange. What the hell is that thing? What the hell is that thing over there? Oh, it's another nebula. Okay, so I screwed up because it shouldn't actually be hoverable. Okay, so that's an interesting problem. Now that I'm in this spot, though, oh man, the camera pan is backwards too. Dang it. So I got the math backwards, I guess, on the... Yeah, I'm going to change this to plus. And then I'm also going to make the height part higher. It looked like the speed was good, though, based off of my rough estimates. So I'm going to make this like 55. Something like this. And that should give a different feel to system panning. And there's a little bit more I want to do. I want to add it to where maybe if I push like Q and E, it can rotate around a selection, which would be pretty cool. For now, though, let's see here. So we have a blue star, that time it's selected. So if I zoom in, that was really weird. And if I pan, it's a little better. It's a little janky feeling for panning, though, to be honest. I might even like the sun to be more like out here. So like, maybe this needs to be like 45. And this should be 3. Okay, so for some reason the camera is really screwing up. It does have zooming and panning. So now it just needs to spawn stars, but the problem is that, for instance, this nebula over here is, or maybe that's the galactic disk. Okay, so maybe that's not so bad. The problem is if I keep zooming out, eventually what's going to happen is this, which is incorrect, very incorrect. Man, I need those panels big time. I'm not going to be able to get away without them, but it's kind of working. The problem though is that I think the star needs to be much smaller. And that way, this can't happen. Either that or I have to lock, well, because even if I am zoomed in pretty far on that blue star, like, if I turn it around, there's going to be this big red star over here, which is not correct. It's too big, it's too close. So one other issue I'm getting is that whenever I do zoom in on an element, which this yellow star is not fond of getting selected, it's like it's not actually, before, like as it starts the lerp, it's like screwing something up here, so. I'm not sure why that's happening though. If I zoom in like this, and I pick a star, I should go, oh. Yeah, and sometimes this happens. Sometimes it like won't let me select this. Has a collider. It's a big star. But it just arbitrarily will not select for some reason. And neither will that one. That's so weird. Sometimes it just will not work. And now it will. That is so bizarre. It's almost like the camera is too close or something to RayCast or something like that. That's my best guess off the top of my head. So let's see, from like right here, move to the camera. Is like the frustum too close to the star or something? It doesn't exactly look like it. But that is the closest thing I've got to a good guess here. But the Earth plane is tiny, so it can't do that. But I figured out what my other problem is. Although actually that shouldn't be an issue, should it? If I do this action, it should take the current camera position as the position. Dang, so I'm actually not sure why that's happening. Yeah, it's like fucking up for some reason. Why is that happening? For some reason this is jacked. What if I take out this lookout rotation first? Okay, so it's got some, for some reason the look rotation is. Man, that is so dumb, dude. Looking at it doesn't change the position. So how come looking at it is changing the position? It's kind of weird. So let's see. What if I go like this or something? Yeah, it's still doing that. And definitely I need to be able to rotate around this, I think. So if I select it, I gotta fix that so it selects somehow different. And the coolest way to do it would be with the panel. Because you can just click the panel and the panel will update and you don't have to change this brightness at all. Because changing this emission value does change what it's lighting up around it. Not sure. Let me see. I guess I'm just have to give it a Google here. So let's see. So Unity 3D, camera look at is changing position, not just rotation. Alright, well that's saying it's almost a bug or something. Alright. Not too helpful. Let me see though. It said one thing it recommended was turning off the rigid body of the star, which I need in order for the star to be selectable. But real quick, let's see if that works or not. So I'm going to enter the star here. Or not the star, but if I select the star, yeah, I do not know why this is bugged. That is really strange. It has to be the nebulas interfering with the raycast. It's the only thing I can imagine. But okay, so the blue star, turn off the collider. Oh, it doesn't even have a rigid body on it. So that's not the problem. It's like, it's using like a default camera position for some reason. Okay, so maybe the current star selection is incorrect. I don't think so though, because it's zooming in correctly. So nebula, star, okay, so that time it like kind of worked, right? I didn't just imagine it, did I? Once again. So that time it screwed it up. Yeah, I'm really stumped on this one. It happens, what can I say? My only... No, I have no clue. This is like as straightforward as it can be imagined. Starting position is the camera's position starting at the action fired. Current star selection isn't actually... Or wait a minute, yes it is. It is set to current star selection. Dango, I don't know. What other... Okay, so star's position with up as the up vector in world position. Again, it still is jinky for some reason. That one only has one star. I'm not just like imagining it, am I? Let me see. If I select this, if I zoom way out and select it, and then look at camera data, I guess that doesn't matter, does it? The camera should just zoom in without freaking out. But it freaks out. It like completely rotates the thing around all the way for some reason. Okay, so if I'm way over here, I select this star, and I zoom in. For some reason, it's like rotating it completely 180 almost. And I kind of see why, I think. Okay. Alright. Give me 1 split second. I need to go do something real fast. I'll be right back. Alright. Sorry about that. I had to go do some business. I'm sorry. Alrighty, so looks like this video is actually going to be about another 22 minutes, 22 minutes. That should be enough time to sort this out. Alright, so part of what I'm considering is that the star's position for whatever reason, this is the problem. The only other thing that could happen is I would be able to do this. And upon completing the transition, then look at the target. This is going to solve two problems by leaving another one. And that was almost correct. I mean, and see how awesome is that? You can actually see the star. It's almost like a real star. What can I say? What can I say? It's kind of jittery though when you move it, but it's cool how it does that. Honestly, it's weird though how every once in a blue moon it's like way too big. That's weird for sure, but. I guess this is how it is, huh? Alright, so now you're seeing why I want to actually scale down the stars even further, because well, I guess I might not have to. Maybe. Let's see. If I put planets around, the planets can only let's see, how far away is this thing? I mean, it takes a second, but it's still, I don't know. That's like theoretically local space for the sun, but it is cool how it shows up as a star accurately. Dang it, I'm not sure how to. It worked when I said look at down. Man, if I could just set this up to work correctly, it would give me the effect I'm looking for. Because for some reason, why ever, the look at thing is screwing things up. And actually, I'm going to double check something real quick also. Does it keep orientation once the star is actually selected? So when I zoom in, does the camera, I mean, it basically stays in the right spot. Man, how am I screwing this up? I know that lerp is exactly down for that other look rotation. What I'm screwing up though is like So starting camera rotation makes sense. But the final rotation is like camera at. Final position look at rotation, basically. Man, since in this one, all I had to do is say vector 3 down. Alright, so let me do another Google here, so let's just look at this really arbitrarily and see if anybody has a good idea. So this is almost saying to try using a slurp. Okay, so this is saying I can use this vector math. That's not exactly correct though, because the problem is that the transform position is changing every time. Oh, but maybe I can go like, maybe I can say look rotation is actually new position minus the star's position. And I think I have to do this the other way, but this is kind of what it's suggesting. So let's give this a shot here. Alright, so let's see if this works. So we have one red star. And I can't tell if I'm selecting it or not. Which is why I need the panels. That's super weird. I have to get that fixed somehow, so let's see. Dang it. Almost. I mean, it's in the right direction. But it is still screwing something up pretty big. So if I click on the thing and zoom in, okay, so that kind of worked. I mean, I would argue that that technically is correct. It just feels weird for some reason. So I click on this and I zoom in. I mean, that's like basically correct. Okay, so that should be that simple. We saw this issue though where, like, this is basically a planet. This is close enough to be a planet for the star, so that's not correct. If I start spawning planets around the star, then they're gonna have, it's gonna practically be a binary star system. Or a trinary star system. Like, so that's not exactly correct, but I can tweak those details. I think I can tweak those details just fine later. Alright, so with the time I've got left in this video, the thing that would be nice would be the active star system. And let me double check the script because I think it's... It is actually on the correct spot, but I think it's going to be screwing up one thing, which is that it's not getting fed differential data. So this isn't exactly correct, but it's on the right track. The main thing now is just exiting the so we have active star system, which will probably plug in a lot of the spawn code into this. The other thing then is just exit star system to nebula. Exit nebula to galaxy. We're going to just do the same thing here, and we're just going to copy this entire block of code, and we're going to use it in here. And then we're going to have to recombine a lot of this data. So bool camera alert. Oh, and I'm actually not using active nebula object like that anymore. And let me just make sure I'm not using this in here somewhere. I think I am somewhere. I guess not. Whatever. I'll see if it breaks. Okay, so anyways. Full camera lerp complete. I think that defaults. Oh, it doesn't default, I guess. Or just by default it's true, so the loop doesn't run. We need camera data. Probably gonna need this as well. On here I'll just do this. And then we'll say camera data is player data, component, camera data. And now the camera data issues to be fixed. We also need a float iterator. Oops, and for some reason I forgot this over here. Didn't matter, but I think the compiler likes it if I do that. So now we're looking at current active selection data, which is just going like this. We're looking at active nebula transform. Okay, so that's going to be a little different because that's going to be a little different. Close, but not exactly like that. That's going to have to be active star system transform, basically. And then we have to add camera data to this and this. And this. And then we have to set up the starting position. And I suppose this might not be a bad time to swap something here by going like this. So we have we're going to say previous public vector 3 previous nebula camera position, and then public vector 3 previous nebula camera rotation. Oh, which is actually a quaternion, not a vector 3. Dang, alright, so I'm going to try and squeak this out before I stop this video. Don't have a lot of time left. Let's see what I can do. So we're going to have to grab exit star system to nebula. Where did that? Oh, okay, it's over here. My bad. So we're exiting nebula to galaxy view. We're going to grab basically all of this. In this instance, we've got exit star system to nebula, so nebula to star system is false, to galaxy is false, and camera data dot star system camera in transition to nebula is true. I think these are still correct. So I'm going to go up here and say vector 3 starting camera position, quaternion starting camera rotation. And then what else is going on over here? So I probably have to change this too. If I'm exiting the star system to the nebula, the galaxy can't be transitioning into the nebula. It's a tier removed from it. The starting position is where the camera's rotations are at. And camera data would be previous nebula camera position and previous rotation. But to make that work, I have to actually go into enter star system from nebula. And I have to say camera data dot previous nebula camera position is in fact starting camera position. And then camera data dot previous nebula camera rotation is starting camera rotation. Oops. If it'll autocomplete. Okay. So now that's set. It will lerp to that previous position from the starting position. It will set the tier to nebula, and it'll also be nebula. Oh, whoops, that's... Oh. So that needs to also be nebula, which means I screwed it up over here. I did. Oh, that's why it was screwed up that one time. Okay, so that's a little strange that was changed like that, but okay. So now the zoomer will not be broken when I zoom out. And enter star system. Okay, so that's still fine. And I don't need this look at thing anymore, do I? So now we're looking at X enter selected. I'm going to yank out this comment also. While I'm here. Exit star system to nebula. So as long as the star hasn't been reselected, the iterator will run, it'll do these lerps. It'll basically just go back to the same spot. It'll run all the same code. It's not going to build the stars yet or remove the stars yet. Okay, let's just see if this works. Current active selection is null. Okay, let's just give it a shot. So if I click this and zoom in, we have 3 stars. If I select the blue star, and then zoom in, it zooms in, and if I zoom out from wherever, it did not work correctly. It also deactivated the active star system. Way too early. Maybe that's why I broke, because it deactivated its own lerp prematurely. So I was going to yank that anyway. Alright, let's give this one more shot here. Zoom in, this nebula has 3 stars. If I select the red star here and zoom in, we zoom in. And then if I zoom out, we effectively zoom out. Solid! Oh crap, except for that came back. Oh, I guess that's fine. Or no, it's not fine because I don't want to select the nebula. So that's premature also. So where was that at? We just don't want this, I don't think. And the nebula isn't selectable yet at all. Okay, so that should fix that problem. And I might do something like that similar for the star once the star is in system, but the star still needs to be selectable if I have the ability to transition. Well, I guess that's not actually going to be how that works, is it? Okay, so let's give this one more run, and then I will cut this video because I know it is at 3 hours and 6 minutes. It actually went way faster per hour. It felt like I looked over and all of a sudden I was at 2.5 hours. So if you somehow stuck it out this long, please, please, please go give me $3 on Patreon per month. I could totally use it. One star. I need to change the camera to where it zooms in at maximum size. So like the initial camera needs to like be like this, like exactly as zoomed out as it can be without going over the edge. And then if the player chooses to pan up, they can only pan, the idea is that they can only pan up to the edge and pan down to the edge and then over to the edge, something like that, right? So that way they just can pan with freedom, more or less, is the idea. Okay, so if I select the star, zoom in, sweet, and if I zoom out, ta-da, alrighty. So that's that. That is, and let's see if I can zoom back in with no issues. Okay, I can, and I can still pan the camera, and I can zoom a little bit. Which I need to change that because this is like zooming out like this far is like basically the same thing as just going like this. So it's still some tweaks on this, but it's moving in the right direction. So all right, pretty cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to call that then. That was actually pretty good for this first 3-hour session. It, right at the very end, it worked good. I'm happy. Some parts in the middle sucked because the UI system's giving me hell, and that's Gabe, but so well. I will have to check the forum and see if they've figured anything out or not. Otherwise, like, I'm just gonna have to come up with some kind of ghastly custom system, which is lame. Either that or that's just the only thing I can imagine because, well, I guess the other thing I could do is I could just make like a circle sprite that represents stars of different sizes. And I could just put them in screen space. But once again, if I'm using screen space, anytime the camera moves, I have to update every single one of those things. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure it out. But I'm going to call this video for now. I'm going to try to get another one done today. I'd like to get two to three done every... Like, I would like to get 17 million gazillion done every day until the game's done, but it's not realistic or anything. But I guess for now I'm just going to call it. So if you actually watched at this point, I really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.